Hey everybody, it is Erin from Foothills with this week's Teen Storytime. This week I'm going to read to you an excerpt from one of my favorite books, Life as We Knew It, by Susan Beth Pfeffer. The plot of the book is when a meteor hits the moon and knocks it closer to orbit to the Earth, nothing will ever be the same. Worldwide tidal waves, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and that's just the beginning. It is written in the format of a diary with diary entries, and I'm going to read the first few to you. Chapter 1, May 7th. Lisa is pregnant. Dad called around 11 o'clock to let us know. Only Mom had already taken Johnny to his baseball practice, and of course, Matt isn't home from college yet, so I was alone to get the big news. The baby is due in December, Dad crowed like he was the first guy in the history of the world with a younger second wife to have a baby. Isn't that great? You're going to have a little brother or sister. Of course, it's too soon to tell what it's going to be, but as soon as we know, we'll tell you. I wouldn't mind having another daughter myself. The first one I had turned out so wonderfully. How'd you like a baby sister? I had no idea. When did you find out? I asked. Yesterday afternoon, Dad said. I would have called you right away, but, well, we celebrated. You can understand that, can't you, honey? A little private time for Lisa and me before letting the world know. Of course, Daddy, I said. Has Lisa told her family? First thing this morning, he said. Her parents are thrilled. Their first grandchild. They're coming for a couple of weeks in July before you and Johnny visit. Are you going to call Matt and tell him, I asked, or do you want me to? Oh no, I'll call, Dad said. He's busy studying for his finals. He'll be glad for the interruption. It's great news, Dad, I said, because I knew I was supposed to. Be sure to tell Lisa how happy I am for her, and you too, for both of you. You tell her yourself, Dad said. Here she is. Dad muffled the phone for a second so he could whisper something to Lisa, and then she took the phone. Miranda, she said, isn't it exciting? Very, I said. It's wonderful news. I'm really happy for you and Dad. I was thinking, she said, well, I know it's way too soon, and I haven't even discussed this with your father yet, but would you like to be the baby's godmother? You don't have to answer right away, but do think about it, all right? That's the problem I have with Lisa. Whenever I want to get mad at her or just irritated, because she really can be immensely irritating, she goes and does something nice, and then I can understand why Daddy married her. Of course I'll think about it, I said. You and Daddy think about it also. We don't have to give it any more thought, she said. You should see the glow on your father's face. I don't think he could be any happier. I couldn't, Dad said, and I could tell from his laughter that he'd grabbed the phone away from Lisa. Miranda, please say yes. It would mean so much for for you to be the baby's godmother. So I said yes. I couldn't exactly say no. After that, we chatted for a while, and I told Dad about my last swim meet and how I was doing at school. Mom still hadn't come back by the time I finally got off the phone, so I went online to see what's new with figure skating. The hot topic at Brandon Ehrlich's fan site is how good his chances are to win Olympic gold. Most people think not very, but a lot of us think he has a real shot at medaling, and ice is slippery and you never know. I think I'd like to take ice skating lessons again. I've missed it the past couple of years, and besides, it'll give me a chance to pick up news about Brandon. He isn't being coached by Mrs. Daly anymore, but I bet she still hears stuff, and maybe Brandon's mother would show up at the rink. When Mom got in, I had to tell her about Lisa. She just said that was nice and that she knew the two of them wanted children. She and Dad have worked really hard on making it a good divorce. Matt said if they worked half as hard on their marriage, they'd still be married. I didn't tell her about how I'm going to be the godmother, assuming Lisa doesn't change her mind, which she's more than capable of doing. I felt kind of bad that I'm going to be the godmother, but no one said anything about Matt or Johnny being godfathers. Of course, Lisa and Matt don't get along very well, and maybe 13 is too young to be a godfather. I hope Lisa changes her mind and I won't have to deal with it. May 8th. Not the greatest Mother's Day ever. I told Mom a while ago that I'd make dinner, and she decided to invite Mrs. Nesbitt. I can't say I was surprised, but I figured if Mom was having Mrs. Nesbitt over, I could ask Megan and her mom too. Only when Johnny found out it was going to be me and Mom and Mrs. Nesbitt and Megan and Mrs. Wayne, he said that was too many females in one room for him, and he was going to have dinner at Tim's instead. Mom always thinks it's a good idea for Johnny to spend time with Tim and his family because there are 3 boys and Tim's father's around a lot. She said it was okay if with Tim's folks, it was okay with her. I called Megan and told her to bring her history notes with her and we'd study for the test together, and she agreed, which is why I'm so mad at her. If she hadn't said yes, it would be one thing, but she did, and I made enough meatloaf for 5 and salad, and then right before I started setting the table, Megan called and said she decided to stay on at her church and do something with the youth group. She'd gotten the dates mixed up, and her mother didn't feel like coming without her, so it was just going to be 2 less for Sunday dinner, and she hoped I didn't mind. Well, I do mind. I mind because I've been looking forward to all of us having dinner together and to studying with Megan. I also figured Mrs. Nesbit and Mrs. Wayne would be good people for Mom to talk to about Lisa's baby. Mom may not be your best friends with Mrs. Wayne, but she's funny and she would have gotten Mom laughing. Megan is spending so much time at her church. She goes to services every Sunday and she never used to, and she does stuff with the youth group at least twice a week, sometimes more. And for all her talking about how she's found God, I think all she's found is Reverend Marshall. She talks about him like he's a movie star. I even told her that once, and she said that's how I talk about Brandon, like it was the same thing. Which it isn't at all. Lots of people think Brandon is the best skater in the US right now, and besides, it isn't like I talk about him all the time and act like he's my salvation. Dinner was okay, except I overcooked the meatloaf, so it was a little dry, but Mrs. Nesbit's never been shy with the ketchup bottle. After a while, I left Mom and her alone, and I guess they talked about Lisa and the baby. I wish it was summer already. I can't wait to get my driver's license. I also wish I was through studying for my history exam. Boring. But I better get back to it. Bad grades, no license. The rules, according to Mom. May 13th, Friday the 13th. Well, things weren't that bad. The math test wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Mom said if I wanted, I could take skating lessons in July. August I'll be spending with Dad anyway. Then if I want to continue, we'll talk about it. Megan had lunch with her church friends. I don't like any of them. And Sammy had lunch with this week's boyfriend. So I ended up eating with some of the swim team, which was a lot more fun than listening to Megan and Sammy yell about God. Dan, who will be captain next year, told me I had a really good crawl stroke and that if I worked at it, he could see me anchoring relays as soon as next season. And I like Peter. He told Johnny and me to call him that. Said Dr. Elliot was his name at the office. Some of the guys Mom's dated have tried too hard with us, but Peter seemed pretty casual. Not with Mom, though. He actually stammered when he was talking with her, and he stumbled and nearly fell. But he laughed at himself, and he said he wasn't nearly that careless when he was operating on someone. He asked if any of us had heard about the asteroid and the moon. Mom remembered something about it because it was big news when the astronomers first announced it was going to happen. Some asteroid's going to hit the moon, and Peter heard on the radio driving over that it's going to be visible in the night sky next week. I asked Mom if we could dig out Matt's telescope, and she said we should ask him, but she was sure it'd be okay. Johnny and I didn't even argue over the computer after Mom left. There was something I wanted to watch on TV from 8 to 9, and there was something he wanted to watch from 9 to 10, so that worked out really well. The fan board is still fighting over whether Brandon will need 2 quads to win the Olympics or whether he could win with just 1. It would be so amazing if Brandon won a gold. I bet we'd have a parade and everything. It's 11 already and Mom still isn't home. I guess she and Peter are out admiring the moon. May 15th. Spent the weekend working on my English paper. Dad called this morning. Matt says we can use his telescope. He'll be home in a couple of weeks. He swears he'll teach me how to drive. Johnny was named Middle School Player of the Week. May 16th. All of a sudden, this moon thing is the biggest thing ever. Either that or my teachers are as bored with schoolwork as we are. I could understand it if I was taking astronomy, but French? Madame O'Brien made us talk about La Lune the entire class. She's making us write a composition about it due Friday because Wednesday night we're all going to be outside watching the asteroid hit the moon. Sammy says every time they make a big fuss like that for an eclipse or a meteor shower, it rains. It isn't just Madame O'Brien who's hot for this asteroid. In English today, we talked about the origin of the word lunar. Eddie made a joke about mooning, and Mr. Clifford was so excited about word origins, he didn't even get mad. He talked about slang instead and metaphors that have to do with astronomy, and he gave us a new assignment too. We can write on any topic that has to do with the moon. Due Friday, of course. I guess Mrs. Hamish thinks this moon thing is historical because in history, that's all we talked about. How people throughout history have looked at the moon and commented in eclipses. Actually, that was kind of interesting. I never really thought about how when I look at the moon, it's the same moon Shakespeare and Marie Antoinette and George Washington and Cleopatra looked at. Not to mention all those zillions of people I've never heard of. All those Homo sapiens and Neanderthals looked at the very same moon as me. It waxed and waned in their sky too. Of course, Mrs. Hamish wasn't satisfied with inspiring us like that. She gave us an assignment too. We can write either an essay about astronomy in the past and how it affected someone in history, like if they saw a comet and scared them or prophesied something, or an article about what's going to happen Wednesday night. Either way, it's 2 on Friday. I don't understand teachers. You'd think they'd talk to each other and at least one of them would realize how unfair it is to give us all assignments due on Friday. I wouldn't mind if I could figure out how to double up on them, write my history essay and translate it into French, which I could do, maybe, if my French was good enough, which it isn't. But I don't see how to do 2 for the price of 1, so I think I'll have to write 3 separate papers and 1 in French and hand them all in on Friday. I'll be really sick of the moon by then. This moon thing is supposed to happen around 9:30 Wednesday night, and Mom was interested enough that we watched the news tonight. They said asteroids hit the moon pretty often, which is how the moon gets its craters, but this one's going to be the biggest asteroid ever to hit it, and on a clear night you should be able to see the impact when it happens. Maybe even with the naked eye, but certainly with binoculars. They made it sound pretty dramatic, but I still don't think it's worth 3 homework assignments. Mom watched the local news too, which she almost never does because she says it's too depressing and they're predicting a really nice night. Clear skies and temperatures in the lower 60s. They said in New York, people are organizing parties for Central Park and on apartment rooftops. I asked Mom if we could have a party and she said no, but people on our road will probably be out watching and it'll be like having a block party. I don't know how interesting it's really going to be, but compared to everything else in my life, at least it's something different. I can tell you, having read the rest of the book, that it's going to be very interesting, and life, as we knew it, will never be the same. If you want to hear more about what happens after that asteroid hits the moon, pick up a copy of Life as We Knew It at your local library. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.